Good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. When I was a kid, one of my heroes was Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra was a catcher for the New York Yankees baseball team. He was one of the best catchers ever. And he also had a way with aphorisms that were unique. It was always not clear if you were laughing at him or with him, or maybe both, because at first what he would say would sound naive or silly, and then you would realize that there was usually a deeper truth. He used to say it's deja vu all over again. You can observe a lot by watching. If you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. He used to say baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical. But the one I want to focus on this morning, which he famously said very often, it ain't over till it's over. There's a song many of us sing on Sukkot. It's a line that is added to the benching, Birkat HaMazon, the grace after meals, when we have a meal on Sukkot. And it's a paraphrase of a pasuk, a verse from the prophet Amos. And the line goes like this: Harachaman hu yakim es Sukkas David hanofalas. May God have mercy and rebuild the Sukkah of David, that has fallen. May God reestablish the Sukkah of David that was destroyed, that fell down. Now, Sukkas David, the Sukkah of David, means the kingdom of David. So the kingdom of David fell with the Churban, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, and the exile of the Jewish people. So it fell. And God will one day, hopefully soon, reestablish, rebuild that kingdom with the coming of Mashiach, who will be a descendant of David HaMelech, of King David. Okay, so that's the song that we sing. That's the words. Those are the words, and that's what it means. The image, though, is striking. Sukkas David, we're referring to the kingdom of King David, and we refer to it as a sukkah. Why is a sukkah the metaphor for David's kingdom? So I want to share with you an insight of Rabbi Yehuda Amital. Rabbi Amital says that normally we would refer to a kingdom, the metaphor that we would use is a bias, a house. We refer to Beis Paro, the kingdom of Paro. Because a house, a home, is a powerful reality. A house, a home, it's permanent, it's strong. And therefore, a kingdom, like Beis Paro, the kingdom of Paro, is referred to as a house because of the strength and the permanence that it embodies. If a house falls down, then the symbol that it originally represented is nullified. In other words, technically, it is not rebuilt. It is rather a new house. If you have a house and then it's destroyed, then you have to build a new house. You wouldn't consider that as rebuilding the fallen house because the house ceased to exist when it fell. The effort is the effort of building a new house. A sukkah, on the other hand, is not a permanent structure. And therefore, the idea of rebuilding it if it falls does not apply. Because if something happens to a sukkah, it's very easy to fix it. What could happen to a sukkah? If a branch falls off, so you put it back up. If a wall becomes wobbly, so you make it a little stronger. Likewise, the kingdom of David is referred to as a sukkah, Sukkas David, the sukkah of David, because it can fall, it did fall, but when it falls, it's in the category of a sukkah which can easily be rebuilt. The collapse of a house is final. A sukkah that breaks can much more easily be rebuilt. And it is a sukkah that characterizes both the kingdom of David and the nation of Israel, Am Yisrael. And we see this especially today. A house is strong and it's stable. It's able to withstand a storm. But if it falls, it cannot be rebuilt. You have to start over again. A sukkah is quite fragile. Just a wind a little bit stronger than normal can cause it to break. And in a similar way, the kingdom of Israel, Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, we are fragile. There can come a storm and cause it to break, but it arises anew. We're able to fix it. Let me use different words. It's obvious that a house is stronger than a sukkah. A house is solid. It withstands the element. It withstands the elements and it withstands time. But in a certain sense, a sukkah is stronger than a house because a sukkah has a different kind of strength. It has the strength of resilience. It has the strength of recovery. It has the strength of renewal that a house does not have. That is our strength. We have never been the most powerful empire. Our army, though today remarkable, has never been the most numerous. And yet we are an eternal people because we have the strength of a sukkah. And this is true for us, the Jewish people, on a national level, and it has never been as true as it is today. We see it in effect today. And this is the source of inspiration for each of us in the personal challenges we face in life. Let me put this in different terms. Consider and contrast the sun and the moon. We derive light from both. The light of the sun, of course, is much brighter. It is much more powerful. But the light of the moon has a strength the sun does not exhibit to us. And that is that just when the moon's light appears to be extinguished, it is reborn. The darkness of the moon is actually just the first stage of its regrowth. And we Jews, we've discussed this many times, we Jews follow the cycles of the moon to mark time. Our Jewish calendar follows the cycles of the moon because the pattern of the moon is the pattern of our history, and it is also the key to our strength. And because that pattern can inspire and strengthen every one of us at our darkest moment, at the end of Yom Kippur a couple of nights ago, and near the beginning of every new lunar cycle, near the beginning of every Jewish month, we go outside in the nighttime, we see the moon renewed in its new cycle, and we recite a prayer, Kiddush Levana, the sanctification over the moon. And this is a blessing to God on the sanctification of this new moon, this new month. And in that prayer, we say these words. V'lalvana amar shetischadesh. To the moon, God said, it should renew itself. Ateres tiferes lamuse botan. As a crown of beauty for the Jewish people. Shehem asidim liyischadish kamosa, because they, the Jewish people, we are destined to be renewed just like the moon. The story of the moon is our story, especially today, and the promise of the moon is our promise. I heard this story from Rabbi Matisyahu Salomon of blessed memory. He met a man after the war who had survived 5 years in a concentration camp. He was a religious man before the war. And after the war, 5 years in a concentration camp, he emerged with his faith intact. He emerged with his belief in God intact. He emerged with his religious lifestyle intact. Amazing, amazing. So Rabbi Solomon asked him, how did you manage to do that? For 5 years, you couldn't do any mitzvos. You couldn't keep Shabbos because you were forced to work. You couldn't keep kosher. You were forced to eat whatever they gave you in order to remain alive. You couldn't do any mitzvos. No tefillin, no lulav, no sukkah, no mitzvos. How did you manage to survive 5 years and come out as a religious person? And the man said, it's true. For 5 years, I was not able to fulfill a single mitzvah except for one. I could fulfill the mitzvah of Kiddush Levana. Once a month, when I would see the moon in its new phase, I could say that bracha quickly under my breath and remind myself of the message. And this man said that was enough. The fact that God made a promise that just as the moon is renewed, that the Jewish people will be renewed. I knew that no matter what I was going through, 5 years that we cannot even imagine, I knew that God's promise was there because I saw the moon. And God promised that the promise of the moon is the promise to us. This is the message of the cycles of the moon. This is the unique strength of a sukkah. And this, especially this year, is the message of the holiday of Sukkot. In the prayer that we say, Kiddush Levana, sanctification of the moon, we say these words, David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. David, king of Israel, lives and will be established. And this is the message of the song that we sing on Sukkot. Harachaman hu yakim lanu as Sukkas David hanofalas. God has promised that he will rebuild, reestablish the Sukkah of David that has fallen. Because it ain't over till it's over. And we have the promise of the strength of resilience and of renewal. May this holiday of Sukkot usher in a period of renewal and rebuilding of the Jewish people that we so desperately need. My friends, I wish you all a great day. and a beautiful Yom Tov of Sukkot Chag Sameach. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.